morning to our listeners. Good morning to our viewers. Welcome to today's edition of To The Point. It's Tuesday, the 12th day of May, 2026. Good morning to those of you via our social media platforms, whether it's a Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning to you and welcome once again. Thanks for being with us this morning. It's To The Point. I'm your host, GT. It's Opposition Tuesday on today's edition. I guess you probably get that drift by now. Every Tuesday we do host various, of course, representatives representing the opposition here on island here in Grenada, and also representing the Sister Isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Hey folks, especially those of you driving along on Nations Road, got to send an appeal to you. Please drive along with that due care and attention. I beg of you, please, to do so. Once again, good morning. Representing this morning on our program, we have, of course, Senator Norland Cox with us this morning. And Senator Cox, good morning and welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir? How are you doing? Well, good morning to you.
Pleasant morning, GT, and pleasant morning to your viewers and listeners. I'm hoping you're hearing me clearly.
Loud and clear, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Wonderful.
All right. So how is the Sister Isle of Carriacou? How is, so that's only how I get my information about Carriacou. I have to ask you, how is Carriacou this morning?
Sunny and a little bit windy. Yeah.
Sunny and a little bit windy. All right. So we say that's fair enough to work with. I want to kick the conversation off this morning on a note that may have been concerned to a lot of individuals out there. I listened to your presentation, was it in the Senate, was it last week? And interesting your contribution made towards the, the new digital VAT bill, if I could say it in that term, that the government has put out there. Tell me, how will it hurt ordinary people? Do you believe that the people of Carriacou fully understands how this tax could affect them in some way? Let me hear your views on that, sir.
Thank you very much for that question, GT. But before I dive into the substantive question, I wanted to take this opportunity to say to all our nurses of this beautiful nation, happy International Nurses Day. Today, our nurses, they play a pivotal role in our healthcare sector. And sometimes we often don't see the amount of work that they do, especially those in the communities. Those are the clinics, those are the hospital. So just wanted to recognize them today as well. And just Sunday was Mother's Day, so just saying happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers of the nation. So just wanted to make sure I mention that this morning is so important to remember our nurses and our mothers and the role that they play in our community. So just wanted to underscore that. Yeah, so before, so regarding the VAT amendment bill that came to the Senate after previously going through the House, this bill essentially is basically broadening the tax base. Actually, that is what it seeks to do, to capture more people, more areas, so that government can generate more revenue, basically, so that companies or different type of businesses that normally would not have been captured through VAT, they will now capture those persons. And so basically the digital space persons who use certain platforms, certain softwares, like Microsoft software, cloud software, you are now going to attract a VAT on those VAT charge on those services. Now, VAT is a consumption tax, and what happens is that you don't the VAT is charged to the consumer, but the provider or the businesses is the one who collects the VAT on behalf of the government, and that VAT is paid every 20th of the month. I think that is the date for submitting VAT information and details. So yes, this charge is going to impact persons, and a lot of our young people in particular, a lot of our business are transitioning to doing things more digitally inclined. As such, that is going to be an additional charge on bottom line for persons who are going to be using those digital services like Netflix. I even heard that there's some argument making about you can use somebody else's account. Netflix has gotten a lot more vigilant in terms of who and how persons can access persons' accounts, other persons' account, especially the tracking IP addresses. So if you have an account registered in the US, somebody just can't come and just log into an account in Grenada or the Caribbean just like that. They have certain restrictions, certain codes they would have to pass to the owner to get to you. So they have the way of tracking where you are when you log into your account. So they are also trying to fight against that as well. So persons who might be looking at that as an alternative way of trying to navigate away from getting that charge might find themselves in a difficult situation going forward. So this bill, I am not quite certain how much persons are fully aware of the impact of this bill at this point in time, but persons are going to have to to contend with this charge as soon as it comes into effect. I think one of the things that, for me, that I had to raise and flag as an issue was that businesses outside of the U.S., non-resident businesses outside of the U.S., but Grenada, sorry. So business in the U.S. outside of Grenada, they are going to be treated somewhat differently as regards to the application of this law. So that was some of the unfairness that was raised by myself and my colleagues at the Senate level, at the Parliament level. All right.
Many young people, do have started, of course, in the process of continuing to develop their small businesses, whether it's in the creative, and depend a lot on the digital platforms to survive. Would you say, sir, is it the right time to introduce more taxes on digital services as it stands right now? Do you believe it's the right time?
Well, based on the current economic climate, I don't feel, for any business, once there is additional charge, there is no right time for any additional cost, if you look at it from that standpoint. But based on what is taking place right now in terms of the economy and the economic activities and the heightened increase in cost of business operations, probably this is not the best time for any smaller budding businesses, especially those businesses which are very not big in terms of capital and cost and value, those creative businesses. However, it is something that they would have to contend with, because what is happening, the government, through the Ministry of Finance, they do also have certain priority financial revenue targets to meet. And so they are trying to find additional means and ways to raise revenue to meet those targets. That is the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. At the Parliament level, at the debate, when we were debating, the Minister for Legal Affairs did give some justification that they are trying to conform to some regulations or some policy requirements so that they'll be able to access soft funding for developmental projects and things like that. That's one of the reasons why government had to move in that direction to ensure that they close the gap in terms of areas in where they can collect revenue. That was the recommendations that were given to them by our international partners. Those were the feedback from the Minister for Legal Affairs. So government seems like they have their own priority measures to meet. So it may not be a good time for businesses, but probably a good time for government. So that is where they are. But it's going to be a challenge for the creatives. While you're trying to get your business going, you're having to contend with more business expense. And one of the clauses of that bill actually what is called a reverse charge, whereby if you use supplying services here in Grenada, the non-resident company will forward that charge to the registered business here in Grenada, and they will have to in turn now pass that charge on to the customer. So that is another clause. So you might find yourselves having to have more additional administrative costs, even more cash flow issues based on the type of digital businesses that you're involved in. So it is something that they would have to get some I would advise the new businesses, the creatives, to spend some time with somebody to give them some legal guidance on the application of the law, and to see how they are impacted, to see what applies to them, and to find ways and to put structures in place to deal with it, because it's going to be the law of the land not too long from now, and they will have to contend with it going forward. So that would be my advice to them.
All right, because I have sort of a lot of research in reference to the bill, and other third world countries who have been using it, and some of these countries may have even had to repeal that particular tax that they put on there because of the feedback they've been getting from customers and so forth. So I certainly hope that we here does not have to of course to resort to those measures if things doesn't work out in the way that they wanted to. I certainly hope so that doesn't really occur at all. Let's move on just a wee bit. The people of Carriacou are still complaining about the unresolved housing issues after Hurricane Beryl. Tell me, sir, what is your assessment of the pace of recovery as it stands right now?
Well, the last time which I was on here, which was just a couple of weeks ago. It is still a difficult period for a number of persons. Number of persons who would have been fortunate to get a new home or to get help. I know that they are very grateful for that. Some of the persons who have gotten material and were able to actually use them to help their home rebuild, they are very, very grateful for that as well. But I think the challenge lies around the amount of resources that were made available for the recovery. I think that is the conversation. The conversation is that in comparison to what we see as recovery efforts, in comparison to the monies that were made available, for recovery, it is the belief that persons believe that much more could have been done for persons, and a lot of persons are still in a space of discomfort. A lot of persons, some persons are still seeking refuge, for want of a better word, at the Dumfries low-income houses, waiting for some recourse, whether they'll get a home, whether they'll get materials, or whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of persons that are still displaced from this hurricane, and so I understand how they are feeling. Some persons may beg to differ, but it is difficult if you don't put yourself in the shoe of the persons who are actually feeling the impact of not being able to move forward. And so sometimes it is difficult, and sometimes you hear the conversation that people believe that when I speak about it, it is something that, as if, well, it's some kind of political stuff. It is, let me tell you, it is basically not. This is a situation where persons, a lot of people, everybody has been impacted. And this recovery efforts supposed to transcend past political preferences, because a disaster is a disaster. The wind didn't come and blow down one party supporter house and leave the other. That is not what really happened. And as such, a recovery effort must be approached in a way that disaster is disaster. People in distress is distress. And if you put particular criteria in place, requisite criteria in place, to deal with the recovery based on needs, based on damages, based on person situation, you would minimize any issue, you would minimize any problem, but that apparently wasn't the case. And so you have a situation where persons receive support, maybe based on who they know, based on who can convince the authorities to help them before the other. Just recently, as I think on Thursday of last week, one of the homeowners who receive one of the homes, Build Back Better homes, showed me photos that the house had serious structural issues. So that in itself now is another issue that is being compounded. The quality of the homes. So a lot of conversations is surrounding that recovery effort, and I know that it's not easy for the persons who are trying to get back and who is looking for help, who is looking for support. Judy, trust me, it is not an easy situation. And sometimes I believe that when I hear and I see feedback from the public, persons, if you're not in that situation, it's very easy to say that everything is nice, everything is good and well. You might see 2 photos, you might see 2 pictures. But that is not the reality for most people, because a lot of the persons, I'm quite certain, and I stand corrected, I'm quite certain more than close to a good, I didn't want to call a figure, but a number of persons who would have received a bail back better. Some of them have been unable to properly occupy those homes to date, So even after receiving support from the government for a home, some of them are unable to actually move into those homes, and that is a fact. Because the government is just preparing the outside, doing the shell, and that is fine. That is all good and well. But some persons, for one reason or the other, just don't have the financial capacity to actually get the electrical sorted out, or probably have to pay or get the plumbing stuff sorted, and to make the house into a home. So those are some of the issues. It is better that you have some cover on your head, and of course, they in turn have to make some their own sacrifices and contributions as well to ensure that they bring some comfort back to themselves and their family. But it is not easy. And that is the reality. The reality, it is a difficult situation for everybody. That is just what it is.
You sometimes you still hear conversation from residents, that they will say how they feel a little bit forgotten for months now, after the hurricane, they still feel a little bit forgotten. What would you like to say to these families who believe that the reconstruction is still moving a wee bit too slow for them?
Well, my thing is that they need to continue to be hopeful. The last thing, you don't want anybody to enter into a state of depression or state of despair or desperation, and may lend themselves to doing things that is not comfortable for themselves and their family going forward. Continue to engage the ministry as much as possible to see what support you can get, or to get some confirmation as to how soon the help may get to them. But they have to continue to be hopeful and continue to stay the course as much as possible as they can. I have gone to homes that were recently built. I've gone to homes where persons are still where they are since the passage of Hurricane Beryl. And while the statement is made that, yes, things takes time, and I don't believe that persons are unreasonable to that extent that they believe that they expect everybody to get help right away. That is not the case. And I think it's probably a situation where how the recovery effort is done, if it is done structured, persons would understand what is taking place. Persons would be constantly communicated to say, look, this is where it happened. This is when we're looking to meet by you. But that is not the case. And some persons, in the absence of information, they are going to form their own opinion. And it's a small community, and you hear one person getting help and I am not getting, and all sorts of stuff goes around. So those things is something that has to be managed, and people have to be properly communicated to. Some persons don't know if their names are still on the list for help. They feel that they're forgotten to some extent. So there might be a need for the housing people or for the Better Build Back people to have some consultation, to bring some comfort to persons who have not yet been able to receive some substantive help in terms of bringing their home and the families back to the previous pre-Beryl situation.
All right. Senator Cox, we drew for a break. Let's take that break. When we return, we certainly will continue with, of course, our program this morning. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back.
Life doesn't stand still. It moves. It grows. It asks you to believe in what's next. Your first car. Owning your home. The business you build. The future you choose to invest in. Life moves in steps. When you're ready to take the next one, we're here to help you move forward with banking solutions designed for life. From vehicle financing and mortgages to education savings, credit solutions, and support for your growing business. Republic Bank, ready for life, every step.
The Ministry of Agriculture White Potato Production Initiative is an OECS sub-regional project aimed at reducing Grenada's reliance on imported white potatoes, which in 2025 had an imported value of over 4.5 million EC dollars. The White Potato Production Initiative is part of the Ministry of Agriculture's food security drive and is being undertaken with the simultaneous cultivation of other crops such as sweet potatoes, pineapples, coconuts, carrots, and other vegetables. Other OECS countries like Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are already at an advanced stage in white potato production, with Dominica completely cutting the import of white potatoes during the first quarter of 2026. Grenada is now preparing to advance production for better output in 2027. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
Time to open up the door. Who do you trust to lift us higher? The roads to light the fire. To stand for people, not for fame. You know the name.
The Democratic People's Movement is taking it to St. George Southeast, and it's going to be an evening to remember. Join the DPM on Sunday, May 17th at the Marion Playing Field. Gates open at 6:30 in the evening, and for the official candidate launch of a man ready to represent, ready to deliver, ready to lead, Stamford Simon, your next Member of Parliament for St. George Southeast. Political leader Peter David will be there. All the way from Trinidad and Tobago also, a special guest appearance. Terence Baines joins the platform with Kamala Stephen and sweet steel band music. Stamford Simon, community, commitment, change. Sunday, May 17th, Marion Playing Field, 6:30 o'clock in the evening. Be there. DPM, together we move.
Forward with DPM, and in and we rise again. From the hills to the harbor's end, vote for the people's movement, friend. Forward with DPM, every voice, every now and then.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Once again, it's To The Point here on the Classic Radio GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday here on today's edition. And with us representing the opposition this morning, we have Senator Norland Cox. Senator Cox, welcome back once again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I want to talk to you in relation to this. Sometimes you hear these conversations, you being a resident, who's residing, I should say, on the Sister Isle of Carriacou. Tell me about this. The water shortage issue there, the unreliable access continues to frustrate residents. Speak to me in about this, sir. The current situation with water on the Sister Isle.
I'm happy that you raised that question, because I think there are some things that I really want to clarify. I've been making some social media posts regarding that, and I think sometimes people who don't reside in Carriacou understand the context in which whatever I make mention about. I don't think they really understand, and they miss the whole point. And you have to understand that Carriacou has a history of water challenges over the years. Yeah, sometime in the 2012, thereabout, 2014, I think we did some work in terms of bringing in back a new desalination plant. There was attempts before with a used plant, and that project failed. Which since then, that's talking about the National Party government, since then invested and from the ground up, from scratch, for a project from scratch, got new desalination plants, one for Pidimatnik, one for Carriacou, and those came equipped with a solar PV system for each of those plants to complement the energy costs, and so at least it wouldn't be too expensive for those plants to produce the water. It came with limited pipeline network, on which that component of the project was rest with now. So they are the ones who had to take up the mantle financially, otherwise to deal with the distribution network. But the project mainly deal with the supply of the plants and solar PV system and the pumps and everything like that. And that in itself initially was where this whole push, the drive to bring potable water, ample supply of potable water throughout Carriacou and Pidimatnik. And the whole idea behind that is for us to not have this conversation about water. And that is the reason why we were making those moves, and why it is still necessary up to this day for that project to be completed. However, successfully we were able to complete Pidimatnik. Successfully Pidimatnik, there's pipe-borne water, 100% network throughout Pidimatnik. They have the plant, the solar PV system is in Limle that supports Pidimatnik energy requirements for their plant. So Pidimatnik is covered in that regard. Unless if they have a breakdown or something, Pidimatnik is fine. The only challenge with Pidimatnik currently, the water storage tank is probably a bit too small. It probably needs to be increased. So that is something that can be done going forward. As regards to Carriacou, there's still a lot of work to do in terms of maybe just about 30-40% of a pipe network that is run through Carriacou. So there's a lot of work to be done, and there were plans. I think those plans are still in place for additional 1 or 2 desalination plants to strengthen the water production capacity. And so in a nutshell, that is what the whole plan is about. Now, the reason why the situation in Carriacou is somewhat unique and different is because of the hurricane. All right, and hence the reason why the impact and the increase in the pressures for water has increased and will continue to increase until those parameters that are required to reduce them are applied and addressed. So you have a situation where almost all the roofs have been impacted. Either if the roof didn't go, all the guttering went. So the capacity for Carriacouans to harvest rainwater, which was our main source of collecting water, has been significantly reduced. And it's within that context that is the reason why the pressure is on now more than ever. And so a lot of people don't seem to understand that. And it make it sound as if well, people just crying about water for no reason. And that is unfair, that is untrue, and it is somewhat unreasonable to think and feel that way about persons who are actually struggling. I can tell you, yesterday morning, I was called a lady who had a situation where she don't have any water. Something happened to her tank and she need help. I think she just had a surgery and things like that. So there are persons who have unique issues, unique challenges, and all that is required is for you to take a look of what is happening, make some assessment, and to put some measures in place just to cushion those impacts during this period until the rainy season picks up, until more persons get the refund, until more persons put gutter in, and there are a lot that are roofs back on. But a lot of persons have not been able to put back the gutter in. Some of them They probably have not cleaned the tankers yet. Some of them probably don't get their black tank back as yet. So there are a number of issues surrounding persons being able to really harvest rainwater properly. And that is the challenge. That is the challenge that is before us. And it's within that context that you find the water pressure continue to increase. Now, as more businesses come back on stream, as we try to get everything back up and running, we're trying to have more festivals, we're trying to even add festivals to create economic activity. That in itself is going to lend more pressure for water demand in Carriacou. You have PD Matlick with Tide Regatta coming up. I'm quite certain that more than 90% of the people who are coming for PD Matlick Regatta will have to reside on Carriacou because PD Matlick also have a challenge with accommodation. And so everybody would not be able to leave or to spend the weekend in PD Matlick, but in turn they would have to be in Carriacou and go over every day. So what does that mean? Is more that additional pressure in terms of water. What is happening with the plant? Because of that pressure, the plant is rationing the water. So when the truck drivers go, they may give you a trip or two maximum per day. What happens though? This truck driver now have to decide, this 2 trips what I'm getting today, of the 6 people that I have, who am I delivering water to today? They have to make that decision. And so that is what is basically happening. There are persons who can pay for the water, but sometimes they can't even get a truck. Sometimes they can't even get water because the plant is down. So it's a lot of moving parts, GT. It's a lot of moving parts. And I find that persons who don't really understand what is taking place currently the water situation, it is extremely dry in Carriacou, extremely hot, extremely dry. And persons have water challenges, and that is a fact. Now, what I believe, and we have seen it for Carnival, the government, the ministry, I think, barged in water. They used one of the ferries and brought in a few thousand gallons of water to, I think it was for the hospital or somewhere, because of the water pressure. So for some persons to think that maybe I am just saying this because it's dry season, that is not the case. That is not the case. It's a unique situation that we are experiencing right now. And it is, it's a silent issue, it's a silent crisis where water is concerned. We are very hopeful that rain can start falling as soon as possible. Yeah. But if this were to prolong, there are going to be serious challenges. And so it's within that context, GT, I raise this to explain so that people could understand what is really happening. What myself and my team have been able to do is to place some tanks, and the idea was to do that for a few weeks, place some tanks in some communities where we know that historically they have challenges for water. And the whole idea was for us to move those tanks throughout other communities. The demand for water, up to this morning, somebody sent my voice note saying how much they're grateful for the water because we replenished so many tanks yesterday. And so I don't know, in the absence of not being here, understanding the pressure that people are feeling. All we're saying to the government is that they can do the same thing, put tanks in some areas, just as a temporary measure, and so that persons can get additional access to water. It's something that is not new. It was something that was done previously when we have extended drought periods. And that is all that I am saying is that come up with ways. There are things that we can do to make water a little bit more accessible to persons who are very much challenged. Let me look for Carnival. There are some of the persons in the Dumfries area, they had to take water from some of the schools to get water. It is a real living issue. And so, GT, that is the context I wanted to explain that, because I think sometimes when I make statements, people don't understand and they figure this is just about politics. What's somebody wanting to have water to drink and to cook, and what does that do with politics? I don't understand.
All right.
Yeah, so,
yeah. I understand that where you're coming from. I want to focus a wee bit on tourism for a wee bit, sir. You know, tourism is critical, I should say, for Carriacou economy. Are you satisfied how you spoke a while about what the Winston Games coming up to Petite Martinique and so forth a while ago? Are you satisfied with how the island has been promoted and rebuild following the Hurricane Beryl in terms of the tourism sector as it stands right now?
Let me just correct you, GT, the Winston Regatta.
Winston Regatta. My bad on that too. Regatta.
I must say a half and half. I think from my own assessment, the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Authority, they have been doing a reasonably good job. The festivals that they have been overseeing, they have been doing a lot in terms of promoting festivals in particular. I cannot say in terms of Carriacou as a destination. I'm not certain of the work that they are doing in that regard. But I know that a lot of the festivals, I pay attention. I see that whatever festivals that we have, like for example, the recently concluded Maroon, they did a good job in promoting the festival. So I must commend the Tourism Authority for that in that regard. And so generally, I can't say to what extent they have been doing in terms of promoting Carriacou as a destination. They may be limited in what they could push, because you don't want to create a situation for GTA where they have been forced to promote something that Carriacou in itself cannot actually supply at this point in time. Meaning that if some of the sites are not up to par, then it will be unfair for GTA to promote those for people who are outside there looking to come to experience a particular thing, and when they get here, it is not functional. So there might be constraints in terms of what is available for them to promote as well. So that is something, in fairness to GTA, that is something that they would have to contend with. So I don't have all the information as to the extent of where they are with that, but I do know that they have been doing a good job in promoting the Lobster and Lumber Fairs, and of course the Maroon. They did a good job. Those are some of the pet projects, so you'd expect them to at least ensure that they do the promotion in that regard. All
right. You know, fishermen and small business owners continue to raise concerns about the rising costs and economic pressure. What practical relief should governments be prioritizing right now for of course individuals in that particular sector?
It's a tough time for small business, especially fishermen. I was looking at a social media post, I think from a particular gas station, that had a flyer up, or a notice like earlier, saying to customers that know that when you come and ask for $20 gas, remember it's $17 a gallon. So I thought it very funny, and I laughed at it. But it's just a reminder, just to tell people that, look, the cost of fuel is extremely high, and you're not going to get the same amount of miles for the said gallon of gas, or the same amount of gas for the money that you're putting out. So it is something that small businesses, because a fishing vessel is a small business in essence. I was speaking with a fisherman, a tuna boat owner, and he indicated that he spent they had to put like $5,000+ to fuel up the vessel. That was before the increase in the fuel, and that is when the vessel is empty. Now he said that they had like more than half diesel in the tank, and it still cost them $5,000+ to tap it up. So that shows you how the cost of operation for fishing vessels in particular has gone up. What will happen if we do not find any easement going forward? Those businesses are going to be forced to transfer those costs to consumers, and that is the last thing that we want to see. More the cost of living going up because of what is happening. And that is where government leadership comes in. That is where government responsiveness comes in, because it is expected, as is the norm, that the increase in those fuel costs, we expect them to be temporary. meaning that we're hoping at some point in time, something may give and the prices may go back to where they were where they are now. And so what happens is that there's an expectation for government to intervene as far as they can to help cushion those costs. And there are a number of measures that government can take. They would have to look to see where they can subsidize, where they can help address some of those issues. From what I know, previously, when we were contended, the New National Party government, when we were contended with those increased costs, we had capped fuel at $15 per gallon. We had done some reduction on the electricity bills. We had also done some work with removing duties, I think, for vehicle parts, some vehicle parts. So, for example, like the busman and the brakes, something like that those parts would change very quickly. They would have to be replaced quickly. We try to look at different ways to ease that impact. For the fishermen, there is a rebate system. Once you're a registered fisher folk, you submit your bills and you'd normally get a rebate on each gallon. So that helps, and that has been there. That's a long-standing measure that has been there. But there are opportunities for finding ways to cushion this impact. And the reason you want to do that is that you don't want a situation where those costs are transferred back to consumers, and in turn that will create pressures on the economy and slow down economic activity. And so it is something that you need to be responsive to. It's something that you need to look at to ensure that you do what you can to ease those burdens so that when things return to normal, then your government in turn now can ease those measures and just move things back as how they should be. But what you find happening, especially on Caracas side, when prices move up, very rarely that they go back down. And so we don't want to see that. You don't want a situation where the Taxi Association, the Bus Drivers Association, are now saying that, look, we need to increase bus fare. That in itself will have a significant impact on the economy and consumers if we were to go in that direction. So they have to do everything they can to look to see where government can, where they have the ability to ease. That is something that they have to contend with.
Okay, 7 o'clock, we drew for a break. We're going to take that break. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks, to the Point Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back.
Picture this: a tangerine-colored sunset, cool tropical breeze, and a plate full of perfection. Sunday, May 24th, the day before the holiday. Grenada, get ready to live your best life at Unbothered Brunch, the Tropical Tangerine Edition. We are taking over the Ariza Car Park from 4 p.m. It's going to be a vibe you can't replicate. Featuring live performances by Rita and the Ultimate Perfection Band, the Fahrenheit Band, and the Groovy Master himself, Short Pre. Keeping the energy going. Get ready for Kingpin and Graphic Sounds. Here's the best part. This is a food-inclusive event, so come hungry and leave happy. Tickets are just $150. Grab yours now at gotofed.com or any authorized outlet. Sunday, May 24th, we're outside for Unbothered Brunch, the Tropical Tangerine Edition.
Grenada, get ready for the grand finale of the athletic season. The Whitsuntide Games 2026 take over the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Saturday 23rd and Sunday 24th May from 9 a.m. daily. Witness 2 days of electrifying track and field action as top athletes from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua, St. Lucia, Guyana, and more go head to head with Grenada's finest speed, strength, and regional rivalry once more, all in one place. Admission, finish line, $30, main stand, $20, VIP, $150 for 1 day, and $200 for 2 days. Don't miss the final local athletic meet of the season. Be there for the Whitsuntide Games 2026 as the season ends with a bang.
Fire up the coals, bring the flavor. It's time to crown the King of the Grill. Maggie King of the Grill 2026 is calling you. Think you got the creativity, the skills, and the fire to rule the grill? This is the ultimate showdown for chefs, backyard masters, and the food lovers alike. Step up, show your talent, and claim your spot among the best. With over $5,000 in cash and prizes to be won, the stakes has never been hotter. Happening Saturday, May the 30th. Register now. Call or WhatsApp 407-8458. But hurry, registration close April the 30th. Don't wait. Bring your fire, bring your flavor, and bring your A game. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026, where champions are made on the grill. Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday for today's edition of To The Point. Senator Cox, welcome back once again, sir.
Thank you.
I want to ask you this particular question, sir. You know, if you had the authority today, what would be the first three urgent issues you would like to address? You would address, I should say, in Carriacou, and do so in the immediate.
Like today?
Well, I'm saying, you know, if the authority came to you today, what is that three things you would like to, or that issues you would like to attend to immediately? You just want to have that taken care of.
I think if we speak about current issues, I think that obviously one of the first things is that I would try to find some measure to help ease with the current water situation, whatever it's to bring water to some of the communities. And if it's just for a month or two, just for a short period of time, just to help bring some easement to people, I think I would do that. And the reason for that, BNGT, is just that you have to understand that your role in government is about people. And what you do, what is expected of you, you find means and ways to help people on a daily basis. That is the bottom line, what the job is about. It is never about yourself. It is about the office. The office will remain. People will go and come, but the office will remain. And the office is set to function to provide support to residents, either with whatever issues that they have. Because sometimes we find that when we talk about things, people feel that you're asking too much, but that's just the nature of the job. The nature of the job is that you're there to support and to help the residents as much as possible in through their daily lives. And that's how it to dispense government services. So yes, I would try to address the water. Another issue, I think, for me that is long-standing, not long-standing, but outstanding, I should say, for want of a better word, I would say outstanding, is the support, the berry relief support that fishermen, some fishermen and farmers in Carriacou, in particular, about 40 to 50 fishermen in Pidimantnik, were unable to benefit from, who were distressed. Some of those whose boats are still in ruins, who had to put out money to get back moving. I would say that is something I would want to quickly address. And the third thing, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, the housing situation. I would probably intensify as much as possible as I can to help resolve this issue as quick as possible to cushion the impacts and effects that persons are having. And as I say, I think those three approaches is one that will bring comfort and relief to people, and that is what this job requires. So yeah, there's three I can pull off the top of my head.
All right.
away.
Well, so they hope we could see that done one day, sir. Sometimes we hear these conversations from folks, maybe on the mainland, sometimes from Carriacou. We hear these conversations that they will say that they feel that, national attention only comes to Carriacou after disasters strike. Do you agree with that, or do you think that Carriacou have been receiving its fair share consistently, in terms of development consistently year round? Do you feel that?
Well, I think the best way to start to answer this question is by saying whenever I go to Pidimantnik, the people of Pidimantnik feels that they are not getting enough support and attention from Carriacou. And likewise, I feel that sometimes they are forgotten in certain things. Basically, it's the same trend of thought that you get from Caracuans. I feel like sometimes things that are opportunities that are available on the mainland sometimes not being afforded to Caracu, who sometimes who desperately want to partake in it. And so it has been, I must say, a chronic belief or thought that persons felt that way. I know that one of the tenants, the co-tenants of Elvin G. Nimrod's representation was to remove that stigma of Caracuan Pitimatnik being last and not being able to benefit for some of the things that have taken place on the mainland. Hence the reason why we were able to at some point in time previously, even before my time, sometimes a vehicle come to Caracu, so you normally used to be a used one, so they replaced one in Grenada, they would send it up to Caracu, and it on Caracu would probably send it up to Pitimatnik, and so that has changed some time back. So we normally would get new equipments, new vehicles. You see Caracu have a low housing scheme now as well. So I would not say that it is something that has efforts have not been made to change that way of thought, but there is still some residual thought that it exists. And so it's something that, as Caracuans, as myself as a member of parliament and who have served, you will have to be always vigilant to ensure that you continue to look out for Caracuan Pitimatnik in whatever areas, whatever opportunity that arises. But that has always been a conversation long before my time, GD, before my time with your time.
I just wanted to get your views on that. I have one more. I have one more question for you before we switch the conversation to our listeners and viewers this morning. They may have a question or two they want to ask. Now, what message would you have for young people in Caracu who are losing confidence in opportunity and on the island? And they're probably considering, maybe I should migrate, go somewhere else. Talk to me. What message would you have for young people in regards to that, who are having that particular feeling right now?
I could reflect on this question based on where I was maybe 10, 20 years ago as a younger person, having to make certain decisions as what to do next, how to move forward. So I do understand how young persons feel. And 20 years ago, a lot of things have changed. The environment have changed, business have changed, the world have changed, and a lot of things is different. And there are a lot of pressures on young people with the advent of social media. Young persons are very much influenced by what they see on a daily basis. We never had that intimate interaction with the world on such a close reaction time. And so I think that is one of the influencing factors that young persons are more pressured now in terms of where to go, what to do. And so it is a challenge for young people, and especially for Caracuans and Pitimaticans, it is somewhat difficult to how to navigate that. But I believe, GT, I think everything is grounded in fundamentals. And I think it's important that we remember that fundamentals don't really change. And they are there for a reason, to give a foundation for anyone, any young person, to plateau from. And I believe that if you're in Caracu and you have some level of frustration, or you're considering migrating, some of the challenges that I hear, you will meet them. You meet some of them when you migrate, so you won't escape that. Hence the reason why certain fundamentals are critical, whether you want to stay, whether you want to migrate. And for me, I have always said that, and I strongly advocate that education is a universal key for eradicating poverty. And that is my mantra. And I believe that whatever you do, it is so important. Whatever decision that you make, whether you migrate or not, be it for studies, be it for work, you must have an educational base. You must have an educational foundation. And if it is not a skill, if it is theoretical, I think you must invest in that. So I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't migrate. I'm saying that you should be prepared for migration. And if you plan to stay, there's a lot of opportunities here where persons can make a significant livelihood and contribution towards Carriacou, Grenada. There are. But you have to prepare yourself because it doesn't matter where you go. There are some basic fundamentals that you must apply in this life. You must have discipline. You must have some level of commitment to whatever it is that you're going towards to ensure that you're successful in it. And of course, your parents always provide close family members who you can confide in to help guide you to move forward. But I believe, just stick with your fundamentals, prepare yourself mentally, and whatever decision that one chooses, whether to migrate or whether to stay, I believe that it will bring success for whatever decision they may have. It doesn't mean that they won't have challenges. It doesn't mean that they may have failures along the way. But I firmly believe in fundamentals, GT. So, and that is what I would say.
All right, and certainly what's there that I hope the young people will put some serious thought into. 435-2041, 435-2041. You can call via the WhatsApp or the direct line if you have a question or two you want to throw to Senator Cox this morning in relation to our conversation this morning. I believe it's a bit of a cordial one. 435-2041. You can give me that call now. We still have a few more minutes left on today's edition of To The Point. If you do have that question or two that you may like to ask. Anything we have missed that you want to, of course, drop, but we do have that caller coming in, so let's gravitate to the calls and then we get done. Caller, your life. Good morning, welcome.
JT, you okay this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
Great. You see, I get my wish about the Honorable Ron.
All right.
Right.
Do you have a question for Senator Cox this morning? Show it up, please.
No, what I was saying, from my observation, I'm not really living in Carriacou, but I find that when I look at all the videos, TikTok, Facebook, all these kind of things, you all have festival, everything. I find Carriacou has come back a long, long way, and I know you still have some concerns, and I'm not saying that you're painting a picture of doom and gloom, but I would still say that Carriacou is almost 100% back. Could you imagine the lobster festival, the dish, all the different traditional things that you all have not failed, you all have continued all these things, and the Carnival Queen, the first time a queen from that area when after Hurricane Beryl. So when you look at the whole picture of Carriacou, I find that despite whatever shortcomings there may be, I think that the parliamentary representative for Carriacou is doing a fantastic job. And Carriacou is almost 100% back to normal. He is doing a very good job, yes. The thing with the house is how some probably is not of good quality, maybe one or two. The thing about it, let me tell you, Mr. When you see these things happen, hurricane and all these things, everybody all of a sudden become contractor, like what happened in Ivan in Grenada here. So you always find people want to say they are contractors, and because we're anxious to build them things back, then you're going to have a lot of faulty houses or some substandard houses along the way. But long, I have been clamoring on the government to bring in workers, right? But the bottom line is when you look at the development and what's going on in Carriacou, the true picture, and the parliament gentleman is doing a fantastic job. I'm proud of him. He's doing a good job.
Take another 10 seconds and wrap, please, because have a good morning. Have a good one. We do have another caller via the WhatsApp. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, G. Are you hearing me clear?
Go right ahead, please. Yes.
All right, good. Good morning, Senator Cox.
A pleasant morning.
Well, listen to you this morning. It's clear to me that you're a gentleman and you are a professional and you understand what Carriacou needs and Carriacou problems. And I can rest assured Yeah, when you get into office, Carriacou will be a better place. Now, your opponent, on the other hand, had a press conference and boast for the nation. Young people listening, older people listening, that it cost the police. Now, I've never heard no politician throughout the world ever boast for the nation and they cost the police. It's alleged that he said that win, lose, or draw is set for life. Now, I know you can comment on that. But what I would say that when you jog your brain, people who's listening, what kind of person would utter such a nonsense from the mouth that is holding public office? Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. You want to respond to the caller, Senator Cox, in any way at all?
I could quickly just want to respond to the two callers. The first caller, and I want to commend her for always calling. She always calls and seem to be supportive of what is happening. And I think she means well for Carriacouans, and she wants to see Carriacou back up and running as quickly as possible. And I really want to thank her for wishing Carriacouans well. But the live experience is different from a TikTok experience. And that is all that I have to say. And in the context of our culture, GT, I could tell you, there is no, and I say it with a certainty, there is no one, any way, anyhow, could interfere with the culture in Carriacou through politics. Carriacou culture is cemented at the community level. And it doesn't matter who is in government, it doesn't matter who is in charge, our culture will always survive. You understand? It doesn't mean that government doesn't have to do things to sustain it, but I'm telling you, once you have your community maroon, people come out, they don't business about politics, and it transcends politics. Understand? Whatever the ministry or the parliamentary rep might do towards supporting whatever cultural event, that is all good and well. But there are things that are outside of the control of government where culture is concerned. And trust me, I tell you, I've seen it recently, as recently as Friday gone. This is something that is embedded in who we are as a people, and that is part of our resilience, that is part of our existence. And so I would not take any credit for something like that, but being very privileged and humbled to be able to experience and to be part of it, and to do what I can to support it and to ensure that it flourishes. So that is one on that side. On the other part regarding comments that people make when they're in public office is something that people have to be responsible for and recognize that it is not about you, the individual. It has never, ever been about the individual. And it's something that I spent some time with mentally when I became the parliamentary secretary for the first time. There are some things that I probably was never accustomed to, and I just didn't want to do it. But you have to understand that it's not about you, the individual. It's about the office and the upkeep of the office. The office will remain. People will come and go. And so it's within that context, I think, not only for who is there currently, but advice for other persons who wish to serve in the public space, the public domain, to ensure that you carry yourself in a manner that you make statements or comments. People make mistake, but you have to understand why people support you. You have to understand that what is expected of you in terms of service towards them. And you must have respect for people, especially law enforcement. I mean, people who take the oath to put their life on the line to protect and serve, it goes without saying. I have immense respect for the police. I mean, if I try to explain, GT, how I feel about police officers, a lot of people don't understand. It's something that I even spoke to my kids about, and it's something that you see people go out and serve and not understand the sacrifice that they have to make. And so within that context, I always have that inner passion and that inner softness for our law enforcement people. Albeit there are some persons who are not perfect and they themselves might make mistake. And so it's within that context, but there are measures and structures to deal with those behaviors. And so we ought not to paint a broad picture in any aspect of how people solve what they do and what they say. But persons need to take responsibility for those actions going forward.
All right. We do have another caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning.
Good morning, GT.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my very good friend, Mr. Cox. How are you today?
Pleasant morning. I think we really have to meet up. Yeah.
Don't worry, man. You go definitely meet me. So far at GT, the Minister of Carrico will be on your program tomorrow. So the question that the caller have, they should direct it to the Minister tomorrow. Mr. Cox, anyway, my question to you, all right?
Seems like you previewed information that I don't have.
He will be there tomorrow for sure.
Right.
I'm positive.
All right.
Mr. Cox, is there anything that you said now that knowing that the minister going to be tomorrow that you would like to take back now? Or things you said in the past?
Probably should ask me what more I need to add.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Cox. Okay, you made some pronouncement the last time about a contract, and you say it was given, and then you say it was pure Mawet, basically. In my own words, I'm just using my words as Mawet, that certain people get contract, and like you was included, like the minister have something to do. There was no tendering or nothing. Mr. Cox, the minister was advised and asked the same question and say he had nothing to do with that project. So what would be your response? And Mr. Cox, today you came on GBN. And you mentioned nothing about Pity Matnik. On your program, you mentioned about Pity Matnik. There are construction going on in Pity Matnik. I would like to hear you speak about the 12 houses that been built right now in Pity Matnik, the number of construction that is taking place also in Carrico. You mentioned about the jetty too small. So I'd like to hear your comments on that. And once again, do you want to take back anything that you said or correct it right now before the minister tomorrow? Have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, anyhow, GT seems like the caller, the minister, would probably get more to speak about tomorrow, because I do have a meeting this evening, a community meeting this evening, which I believe will be aired live, and so I'll be diving in depth on more of the issues. So I do hope the caller probably truly it seemed like he's working along with the reps, so that's fine. As regards to Pity Matnik, I did mention Pity Matnik sometime in my conversation this morning. I'm quite certain about that. And regard to the 12 houses, when I visited Pity Matnik last, those houses were not started as yet, so I can't really speak to them. So probably when I visit later in the week, I will see them for myself. But maybe the caller should probably add, as we're on Pity Matnik, he should probably add to the list for the minister to speak about as to why the health center in Pity Matnik is still incomplete. You know, I didn't speak about that. I didn't speak about that. And if he wants to add again for Pity Matnik, which I did mention, why the 40 or so 50 fishermen have not received the very relief support which they're entitled to. Let me look for some more things that I can add, because he's asking for stuff.
Well, you know, we are a bit strapped for time, so I wish you don't go into all of that at this segment.
As I said, there's plenty more.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We do have another caller, which will be the caller that will take a wrap for our segment. This is the calling segment this morning. Let's take this caller. Caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Special good morning to Mr. Cox. I just want to commend you on the information that you would have just given. For the person who called the first, I say this, I live in Carrico, I'm on the grounds in Carrico, and some people say, oh, the government is doing this and they're doing that. Yes, they are doing stuff, but is what kind of stuff that is being done, one, and two, the people that are talking and saying, oh, Carrico is almost 100% back up. What I want them to do is to take a trip to Carrico and walk on the grounds. Interact with the people and you would understand, and then you would see what is being done and what needs to be done, what needs urgent attention and what doesn't. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. That was the caller that was going to wrap today's edition of the calling segment. Anything you want to follow through on what the caller mentioned, and then we get some closing comments from you this morning, sir?
I didn't want to, the first caller that called on Albert Carriacou back 100%. I didn't really want to have a back and forth on that, because, as I said, the people who live here every day knows what they're experiencing, and so sometimes me having a back and forth with you, and sometimes it just don't really serve the purpose. And it just creates a confrontation. Nobody has not said, I have never said that the government is not doing anything. I have not said that they have not built anything. And GT and the records can show. I mean, these programs are recorded. What we have, I always come and raise certain things and awareness as to what is happening, what are the challenges. And that is my responsibility as a responsible opposition, to give guidance, to give suggestions, to make requests for persons. Just yesterday, to talk about the Windmer Jetty. Just yesterday, I passed by there. And one reason was like, Cox, this thing is a disaster. The disaster, no consultation. I mean, look at this, the boats, they don't know if boats were able to come alongside, the fishing boats were able to come alongside because the jetty is so short. And we haven't heard what is the cost. And my friend who called saying that the parliamentary rep is going to be on tomorrow on your program, GT, and maybe you can ask him, what is the cost of the Windmer Jetty? Up to this date, we have not received any indication as to what is the financial cost of the jetty. The last time we saw an interview, the person who they interviewed, I think, was either the contractor or one of the workers. They could even tell GBN how long, what's the duration of the project. I mean, I never hear that. I never hear that you have a project and you know when you will complete. You must have a completion date. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't go past it, but I've never heard that before. So that is something that you could probably ask the rep if he's going to be on tomorrow on your program, GT.
All right. Senator Cox, I want to thank you once again for always popping in and sharing your thoughts and of course sharing your concerns in relation to what's going on in the Sister Isle of Carriacou.
It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you too, sir. Best wishes for the rest of the day, and of course, if you get up at the Trudy, shout out to everyone in Carriacou for me. Have a good day, sir.
Yeah, so let's say GT, I have an NMP Connect Carriacou this evening, 6:30, and so we're inviting persons to come out and hear more and to interact and to have a deeper conversation on the way forward for Carriacou and Pidimani.
All right, Senator Cox, once again, thank you, and have a good day, sir.
Likewise. All right. Have a wonderful day yourself.
Hey, folks, that's how we're going to wrap today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed to today's edition. Thank you so much. We went to be on the time a wee bit this morning, but it was worth the while. Goodbye, folks. Have a good one.